Welcome to the worlds of M.W. Lewis. It is the end of July, and the summer flared up in the Northern Hemisphere, baking places like Paris and Berlin, and then Washington, D.C. and Philadelphia. While the heat was inconvenient, it is not the reason I have slowed down the production of the Worlds of M.W. Lewis podcast. The semi-quincentennial of the United States of America is why. During the spring, as I finished watching the Great War podcast, it occurred to me that I lacked a detailed knowledge of the American Revolutionary War. Wouldn't it be cool if someone produced a weekly or a monthly blow-by-blow of that war, just like the Great War did for World War I? So that somebody is me. Since I'm starting my show over a year after the actual shooting began in the Revolutionary War, I've called my effort the War of Independence podcast. I've released 2 episodes already, and the first monthly report, drops on July 31st. I fully intend to provide monthly reports for every month of the war between July 1776 until it concluded in September of 1783 with the Treaty of Paris. I hope my fans of the Worlds of M.W. Lewis will go to that channel and give it a try. Stick with me. I'll be doing this War of Independence podcast until, 7 years from now. In the meantime, I'm still playing D&D and working on other projects. It's just that I was hit by a lightning bolt of inspiration. My hope is to keep both of these podcasts afloat, but I will say the War of Independence podcast already has received more views than most episodes of this podcast. So we'll see. I won't, however, abandon my 2 D&D games that I run, and will continue participating in the bi-weekly Wednesday Osric game and the bi-weekly 2E game when it resumes online later this year. So in this episode, I bring to you readings from Monday night AD&D, the May sessions. Now, we haven't played in July. It's sort of our annual break from the game as people like to get out and do other things, and that's fine. And that includes me. And it gives me some more time to work on the War of Independence podcast. The last time I read to you from Monday night AD&D, the party had made a deal with the goblin poohbah in order to infiltrate his operation in the mine. Now, there have been developments in my Saturday in-person AD&D game where we're running the Village of Hamlet, T1, and then we're going on to B2, Keep on the Borderland, all within the confines of the Greyhawk world. We did play after the last discussion of that game where they sort of completed the Village of Hamlet. I'm not going to provide an update on that game until August because we are meeting again this week and I will just combine the 2 sessions into one update. But I'm not going to make a formal reading. I'm not going to write out a script or anything or come up with images. Finally, in August, it will be the launch of my Versus series for 2026, and I have resolved to start it off with a big, huge bang. I'm going to focus on Blade Runner versus Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep. Now, this is the first one I think I will be doing where the title of the book is different than the title of the movie. And I'm really looking forward to it. So with all of that being said, all of that nonsense being said, it's that time to get on with the show. A reading from Monday Night AD&D, the May Sessions, Deception. The 13th through 17th of Groder's Setnagoo. Last time, the heroes fooled the Goblin Grand Poobah by pretending to be merchants looking for weapons. Back at camp, Derek was impressed that they pulled it off. I didn't think you could do it, especially you hot-headed dwarves. I was just telling Dangle we might need to find new heroes, but here you are. Deslock boasted, I told them we want 35 short swords. Derek's nods of enthusiasm paused. Then I asked them to throw in armor. Derek looked surprised. I said I led a band of mercenaries. Deslock chuckled at his cleverness. Derek gasped, That sounds expensive. Deslock grinned wider. 'Tis 3,500 crowns. Derek's face reddened. Do you mean to tell me the goblins will begin this work without payment up front? I find that... No, Cavrillis said, smiling. We mean to pay him 1,750 golden coins up front. Derek pursed his lips and puffed out his ruddy cheeks. He patted his clothes as if instinctively checking his pockets in front of a highway robber. Well, lads, I must say you sure have great imaginations. Where on Aiden's are we to find 1,750 crowns, and if we do, hand them over to a band of despicable goblins? Flummoxed, the party spent the next few hours pondering how they would come up with a down payment, and if it even was worth keeping the deception going. Finally, as if inspired by Segojan Earthcaller, Derek asked them about the bags of copper they found in the kobold lair a few weeks prior. Where is that, lads? The party said they left the copper pennies back in Valeholm. Well then, let's go get it. The pixies can use their illusion magic to make it appear as crowns. Dangle shot Derek a look of annoyance. Aaron spoke. That is a fine idea. I always endorse using magic. They then told Derek if they brought slaves, the goblins would lower the overall price by 100 crowns per slave. If we could plant some slaves with the goblins and they place them in the cells in the kobold area, we could hide the key on one of the plants. They could then escape and scout around the goblin lair. How are they to use the key from inside the cell? Someone asked. Derek's eyes lit up. Aha! We could have a few pixies polymorph into humans and pretend to be slaves. They could then fly through the cell bars back in pixie form later. The pixies weren't very keen on this idea, but Flint and Zing decided to play along. Kelvin volunteered to pretend to be a slave too. Over the next few days, the party retrieved their sacks of copper coins from Valeholm and returned to their camp on the heath. After resting overnight and most of the next day, the party returned to the mine to see if this part of their caper would work. Once more, hobgoblins greeted them at the mine entrance and led them to the waiting chamber. There were no misunderstandings this time, as the party waited patiently until Deslock and Cavrillis were called to the goblin common room to meet the poohbah. They were permitted to bring the 3 slaves. Ah, welcome back, dwarves. You know you make funny customers. I have heard of evil dwarves and elves before, but others in the caves thought it best we kill you. Cavrillis quickly corrected the poohbah. I am a half-elf, he said gruffly. Well, I assume you have brought the money so we can begin work, and you brought slaves. The poohbah's eyes gleamed. We have, Deslock said, and Cavrillis, and he stacked the sacks on the table. This pleased the poohbah, but he greedily eyed Kelvin and the pixies disguised as slaves, standing behind the half-elf and dwarf with their heads down. Without even counting the coin, the poohbah moved around the table and examined them. He grinned to the other goblins in the room. You may go. Come back in a moon and your weapons will be ready, he barked at Deslock and Cavrillis. The hobgoblin led them back to the waiting room and escorted the full party out of the cave. Back inside, Goblins roughly took Kelvin and polymorphed Flit and Zing to the cells in the kobold lair, drawing a silent sigh of relief from the thief. As the guards started to leave, Kelvin said, "What? No light for my human companions? They cannot see in the dark." "They'll have light in the morning. Busy day on the morrow. Mind business." The goblins chittered and walked away. They waited a good hour or so before the pixies transformed back into their natural form and fluttered around visibly so Kelvin could see them. They could not see and fluttered close to his head. He slipped the key out of its hiding place and gave it to one of their searching hands. They allowed him to hold them to the little barred window in the door, and with careful instructions and feeling, they unlocked it. "Come now," the elf said to them. They perched on his shoulders, and Kelvin snuck through the metalworks room, opened the secret door on the side of the forge, and explored the passageway beyond. Tracks had been spiked into the stone floor, and turntables constructed at the intersections. He found an opening to an area with 3 large shafts that seemed to dive straight down into the roots of the stony hill, the mine shafts. He felt he was moving back in the direction of the goblin area, so turned around and explored the hallway's other direction. The tracks did not continue in that direction past the secret door. At a left turn, Kelvin and the pixies cautiously moved along the corridor until they found a steel gate set in the wall on his right-hand side. The hallway stopped there. Fresh air gently moved through this passage. The thief managed to pick the lock and followed it for a time. They soon emerged on the side of the hill underneath a star-studded sky. "We should go back to camp," the pixie said. "No, I will go back in and explore a little more," the elf said. "Suit yourself," they said with a laugh. They disappeared as they flew away. Kelvin returned to the gate and searched the corridor walls and found a secret door extending the hallway further. On the right-hand wall, he passed by bars blocking a 6-foot opening. The ground sloped noticeably down. Fresh, moist air filled his nostril and the sound of rushing water echoed from beyond. Kelvin continued along the passageway, which turned to the left about 5 paces from the bars. After a time, the hallway ended abruptly. Once more, Kelvin found a secret door and pushed it open into a large chamber. He peered in and could make out the forms of several large creatures lying on the floor far to the right. Piled all around were chests and sacks. Through an arched opening on the wall to the left, Kelvin heard the guttural speech of the goblins. He reached down and carefully grabbed a small sack, but not wanting to push his luck, turned to the secret door, closed it, and made for the escape passage. Not long after, he was back at camp, where the party was trying to decide what to do with the new information they received from the pixies. The fighters wanted to act immediately. "We have a way in and can take the goblins off guard." Others were more cautious. "What about the patrols? We are bound to blow it." Finally, the fighters won. They returned to the hills as the moon started to slide down the horizon. This time they took a circuitous route led by Kelvin to the secret passageway. Wasting no time, they entered and proceeded to the large chamber. It was about an hour since Kelvin was here the first time, and the creatures at the far end were snoring. Through the archway, they could not hear the goblins speak. The party closed the door and made a plan. Aud would throw a sleep at the figures on the floor to the north. Deathlock and Gorin would rush to that area and kill those affected by the spell and fight those unaffected. Aaron and the hired help would train their bows toward the archway for any goblins that might rush through. Kevrillis would go to the archway to watch for the goblins, and Kelvin would sneak in the shadows and wait. The plan worked extremely well. Aud put one bugbear to sleep while fighters charged towards them. Waking at the sound of the casted spell and the charging dwarves, they were taken by total surprise. It took just 2 rounds for the dwarves to kill 2 more bugbears. The 4th fled through the large opening in the back wall. Beyond the archway, Cavrillis saw the poohbah and his lieutenants celebrating the deal they had made earlier that evening by enjoying conjugal attention from some of the tribe's ugliest females, the choicest of the harem. The low grunts and other nauseating sounds were enough to distract them from the clamor in the treasure room. Cavrillis rushed in as Aaron and the 3 elven retainers gained the archway and peppered the goblins with arrows. They were taken completely by surprise. Ald came up behind the elves and cast another spell. Sandman says, "Close thy eyes." He tossed a pinch of sand into the room. Cavrillis, the poohbah, his 2 lieutenants, and the females fell asleep. In short order, the grisly work of killing the sleeping monsters was completed. The May sessions ended there. Don't forget to explore the many worlds in your own mind.